He's speaking, and many saying that this is meant to be one of the most inclusive conferences, with making sure that every country gets a seat at the table. I'm now joined by Ugandan Prime Minister Robina Nabanja. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. What is your message to the other delegates here at COP28?
The message is every country should be responsible enough so that we can adapt to the climate changes. Climate change is real, and we must act now.
What would you like to see countries do? What action would you like them to take?
Of course, there are many things we need to do. For example, the overgrown population. For us in Uganda, we have swamps, and people have settled in swamps. We need to remove them from swamps. Secondly, we are here so that we can, because we are part and parcel of UNFCCC, we are here so that we can share the climate financing, so that our countries can also, use that finance to adopt, to get sustainable adaptation to climate change.
We saw that big agreement yesterday on funding developing countries to help them recover from the effects of climate change. Were you satisfied with that agreement?
Not yet, because of a number of roadblocks along the way. We wanted to make it easier so that our developed countries can access these funds easily. In one way, it's good, but on the other way, there are a lot of conditionalities before you get the money.
You've made incredible progress as a country on renewable energy. Something around 90%,
of course,
is green energy. What's your secret?
The secret is good leadership.
What up, African family? Welcome back. I apologize for the first live stream. I was already talking. I didn't realize I was on mute. But thank you for joining me back on the African Wahala. We are live. Shout out to the subscribers. If you like this type of content where we address the reasons and sometimes we prefer solutions to why African people are at the bottom of the food chain, okay? And if that hurts your feelings, man, unfortunately, the truth is bitter, okay? African people, we are currently not in a good position, and it's been this way for so long. What are the reasons why we are at the bottom of the food chain? These are the things that we talk about on the African Wahala. For the most part, it's leadership, as you expect, but these African leaders collaborate with imperialists from all over the world for their benefit and the benefit of the imperialists. And we, the people of Africa, are the ones that suffer the consequences of those relationships. And this leads us to Uganda. You just heard the Prime Minister of Uganda speaking at the recently concluded COP28. It was an event on climate change held in Dubai. I spoke about what happened with the Nigerian delegates. They completely embarrassed themselves and they completely showcased their irresponsible level of impunity, and it's almost impossible to hold them accountable. That type of conversation is what we are having today in relation to Uganda. Uganda is almost identical in terms of its state capture. Uganda is currently experiencing what we refer to as a state capture. But in the case of Uganda, it's been ongoing for a very, very long time, 37 years, right? By Yoweri Museveni, his prime minister, the lady on the screen. She just said a bunch of nonsense without making any sense when asked questions about climate change. Basically, in summary, she was talking about they need money. So the Ugandan government sent a delegation to Dubai to ask for money from so-called developed countries to help Uganda fight against climate change. And that is the bottom line. That's the only reason why they went to Dubai. And if you want to pick out any other information from what she said, feel free. but I've just given you the full summary. Now, Yoweri Museveni, the president of Uganda, and I'm going to put him on the screen just right now so you can see the people that are responsible for the backwardness in Uganda, for the lack of anything good, lack of basic amenities, lack of roads, hospitals, continuous poverty. This is the individual responsible. Yoweri Museveni, he has been the president of Uganda after a military coup in 1986, and he has been there till this day. My only question is, if you've been the president of a country for so long, close to 40 years, and the vast majority of your people are living in poverty, they lack anything good. The schools are in shambles, the road networks are trash, the emergency medical services are non-existent. You are a billionaire, though. Your family members are all swimming in opulence. They fly around in private jets. They have tons of money in their bank accounts. Meanwhile, the people that you're governing over are poverty stricken. Is that not a curse upon you, Yoweri Museveni? I want Ugandans to acknowledge that Museveni and the NRM, that's the political party, are the problems of Uganda. 37 years in power do not equate to the services delivered to the citizens. No roads, hospitals, schools are dilapidated, as though we have been under a state of emergency. And it's true. If you guys have been following some of the recent events taking place around the world, Israel, Gaza, if you look at the Gaza Strip after it has been blown up by the Israeli people, the way those houses are, I'm not even kidding. I'm not trying to make a joke right now. Some of the buildings in countries like Uganda, where people reside, they look like the buildings that have been shelled in Gaza. That's how ridiculous these individuals have made the lives of African people. And I'm going to keep saying it, that guys like Museveni, they might look like a hero to some of you guys because you love the fact that he stood up against the LGBTQ agenda, which is a good thing. You also love the fact that he opposes the views of some Western countries, the United States. He goes out, talks about, oh, the United States can shut up your nobodies. While he's doing that, he's going to partner with another imperialist, maybe China, maybe Russia. None of these guys are working in the interest of African people. It's only African people that can rescue ourselves from the mess that we are in. So if you're celebrating Museveni because he stands up against the United States, the United Kingdom, and he's aligning with Russia or China, you're making a mistake. Trust me, it's the same thing. It's the same game plan. At the end of the day, he has been in power for so long. He has had the opportunity to repair the country and make life decent for the people of Uganda and the environment, but he chose not to. And what even makes it worse is that he is currently plotting and scheming to get his son into power. His son goes by the name Muhuzi Kainuregba. I'm just going to put that individual on the screen for you to see who he is. Muhuzi, they call him a general. He's a fake general, though. I mean, you need to understand the dynamics of the political game in Africa. If these guys get into power, their responsibility is to capture the entire state. While capturing the state, they would capture the key institutions like the military, the police, the electoral commission, what else? Everything else that keeps a country functioning. The judiciary system, the prison system, criminal justice system. This is exactly what criminal, terrorist politicians do. Once they get into the highest office in power in a country, they would capture these key institutions so that they will be protected. And that's how it works. That's exactly what Yoweri Museveni did. And what makes it worse is he's trying to hand over power to his son, Muhuzi. in the next elections coming up in 2026. And this is Muhoozi. For those of you that never seen Muhoozi before, Muhoozi Kainuregba, a very sensitive individual. He is a general, although he's a fake general, because real generals go through some rigorous processes to achieve that level of that level in their career, in their military career. But this guy became a general because his daddy made him a general. So he's a fake general, right? Muhoozi Kainuregba, a very emotional guy. Once you criticize him on his Twitter, he blocks you. Oh, yeah, he blocks you. And I wonder why this individual has 800,000 followers. That just shows you that Ugandan people, a lot of them love the pain and suffering declared upon them by Muhoozi and his friends. So Muhoozi came out and put out this tweet in October of 2023, or my bad, in October 2022. It wouldn't take us, my army and me, 2 weeks to capture Nairobi, basically almost declaring war against Kenya. And you know what's funny? They don't stand a chance against Kenya. Okay. Kenya is a far superior country, military wise, economy wise, than Uganda. So I don't know exactly what this guy is talking about. He's been seen intoxicated in many occasions in public. He's a very irresponsible individual. But the scariest part is this guy might become the president of Uganda after 40 years of his father in power. So what do you think? What do you think is the consequences of that situation? You have Museveni being in power for so long, completely destroyed the country, made himself a multi-billionaire, and made the people of Uganda poor. Now he's about to hand over power to his spoilt brat son, his son that is extremely delusional, extremely spoilt, and corrupt. That is the individual that they are about to hand over power to. Ugandan people, you have a lot of work to do. I understand a lot of people are afraid of these people because, these guys have terrorized Ugandans for so long. Okay. And I have to give credit to some individuals in the past that have tried to use the same electoral process to get Museveni out of power, like Kiza Besigye. You guys might have seen Kiza Besigye. He's now an old man. Kiza Besigye has contested against Yoweri Museveni about 5 times. And each time this guy goes out there to contest against Museveni, it ends up in violence. His supporters are killed, thrown in prison, permanently injured by Museveni's soldiers. Museveni's soldiers are supposed to be guiding and protecting the people of Uganda and the state of Uganda, but these guys have become personal bodyguards to the crook Museveni. So Kiza Besigye, he himself, he has had a fair share of the pain and torture and suffering. He has been beaten multiple times, bloodied, thrown in prison, had his rights stripped off multiple times, but he never gave up. And he is still here. Kiza Besigye, he came out recently explaining that there is no Ugandan parliament. There is a Museveni parliament. There is a Museveni judiciary. There is a Museveni bank, which would have been the Bank of Uganda. So, like I was saying earlier, state capture occurs when a criminal gets into the highest position in a country and illegally converts all the public institutions, the key institutions, into his personal leverage package, if that makes sense. That's what Kiza Besigye is explaining to us. And then we've also had some other people like the great Bobby Wine, a young man of, Uganda. One funny thing about Uganda is Uganda has had one leader for 40 years, right? Close to 40 years. And out of these 40 years, out of the entire population of Uganda, um, 75% of them were given birth to after Museveni got into power. So the only leader that they've ever known is Museveni, a criminal. This individual, Bobby Wine, is a young person. He was given birth to before Museveni came into power, but then he was a baby. Now he's an adult and he's fighting hard to get rid of the savagery imposed upon the people of Uganda by Museveni and his son and his friends. He's been doing quite a great job in the 2021 elections. It was clearly rigged. And kudos to Bobby Wine and his political party for putting that information out to the entire world. That also coincided with when 54 members of his supporters, the people supporting their political party, the NUP, were gunned down in Kampala by the soldiers of Museveni. Museveni has committed a lot of terrorism against the people of Uganda, not just physical violence, but economic violence. This guy has made sure that he destroyed Uganda as much as he could before leaving, right? He's going to leave power soon. If anything, Father Time is undefeated. So he's getting old in age, and at some point, he wouldn't be able to maintain holding on to power. But the people of Uganda are extremely needed in the transitional period. They have to make sure that the power doesn't end up in the hands of Museveni's son or any of his allies. If that happens, my goodness, I don't know what to say, man. I really hope that does not happen again. And the people need to realize that they are much more powerful than these criminals. They need to realize this is an example of an average road in an average big city in Uganda. Zero maintenance done on these roads. You can see the potholes. You can see the luxurious vehicle at the back. It probably belongs to one of Museveni's cronies, his allies. And you know what's ridiculous about these people? Museveni and his friends. You live in a country that you claim that you love, which you clearly don't. Because if you love your country, the least you can do is make your citizens efficient. You create an atmosphere where they can work, make money, you can generate taxes as the government. You use those taxes to fix these roads, but those guys wouldn't. To escape the bad roads, they will simply steal money from the Bank of Uganda, use that money to purchase expensive SUVs from Europe, ship the SUVs to Uganda, and then ride around the ugly, dilapidated roads in those SUVs. That way, they feel like they are big men and they are not affected by the lack of amenities. But if these guys were really intelligent leaders, what they should have done was to fix these roads, which would add to the economic power of the people and the society at large. And at the same time, they wouldn't have to deal with potholes, muddy roads, and come on. But these guys are just wicked. You have no excuse. For 40 years, if in 40 years you've been in power of a country and you can't fix the roads in the capital, you can't fix roads in the capital and you've been in power for 40 years, come on, we all know what time it is. Not only should you step down, but under rightful circumstances, you need to be investigated and punished for your crimes against humanity for 37 years. Yourself and all your cronies. I'm going to show you some cronies of Museveni, the thieves surrounding Museveni. You also need to realize that once these guys get into power and they become all powerful, remember the police, the military, and all these gun wielding organizations work for them. Not for the people of Uganda, not for Uganda as a country, but they work for those in power. And when that happens, these guys become so powerful that the people fear them. The people literally fear them. They quake in their boots. Is that how the saying is said? How do we convince those standing that they are more powerful than the one seated? Such a great quote. That inspired me to do this live, actually. You can see all these guys standing in front of Museveni. They are most likely all politicians or associates of politicians. You can see some military guys. This guy sits down like their god. Just look at the body language. That's all you need to look at. From the body language, you can tell that these guys are scared shitless of Museveni. They have their arms crossed. They look like they are in their lowest, including the military guys. These two guys are military guys, as you can see. They are just standing there like little kids that have just offended their parents. So if these are the people in control of the country, tell me, do you expect anything good to come out of that country? Not only do these guys loot money, public funds with impunity, then they collaborate with imperialists from all over the world to ensure that their countries remain impoverished. That's what they do. 100%. This is exactly what these guys do. But the truth is, if these people, even though most of them are corrupt as well, if these people could gather the energy, the courage, and go for this guy and his soldiers protecting him, they would be victorious. They will be victorious. But we don't even need such a revolution from these corrupt bunch standing in front of Museveni. We need the revolution to be organic. The people of Uganda that have been the victims of Museveni for 37 years, they are the ones that need to do this revolution, not these guys that have been eating crumbs off the table of Museveni. Now I'm going to share with you the Minister of Environment. I believe that's what he is in Uganda, just to show you some ridiculousness of how things are run in countries that are experiencing state capture. We have this one individual accusing some people of stealing when he himself is a thief. How ironical, right? Check this out.
Mr. President, this thing has been hurting me. I don't sleep. I am looking for money. I am abused by colleagues that I'm not giving them money. When I give money, people do not use it for the purpose for which it has been given. We shall discuss later on, even in private meetings. But the question of corruption, Mr. President, is getting the nerves of some of us. It's really very terrible. We really must whip. We must crack. We must track. Those fellows who are doing those things, they should not be in our government. They shouldn't be in our government at all. You are a clean man, I'm a clean man, others also clean men and women. We work so hard. We worked hard to bring this country to where it is now. And people want to derail us, to take our country into wars unnecessarily. You know, I can quarrel badly, Mr. President, so you'll excuse me. When I get annoyed, I get annoyed.
You need to understand the psychology of these politicians that work with anybody that has captured a state. You have to be subservient. You always have to be on the right side of the state captor. And that's why this individual, he goes by the name Matia Kasaija. Matia Kasaija is the Minister of Finance, Planning, and Economic Development in Uganda. He just said that they've worked so hard to bring Uganda to the current state that it is. But if we are being honest, the current state of Uganda, it's dire. It's looking bad, okay? And I'm going to share with you some quick figures so you understand. We're on the same page. You see exactly what I'm talking about. In Uganda currently, the poverty rate, okay, according to the World Bank, feel free to disagree with the World Bank. I know some people would rather get their information from other sources, but it says here that 42% of people in Uganda as at 2019 were living on less than $2 a day. Ugandan poverty headcount ratio at $1.90 a day based on purchasing power parity in constant prices of 2011. In 2019, the rate at $1 a day in Uganda was 42%. In 2023, I bet you it's not much different, okay? So if a country like Uganda is undergoing so much hardship, so much corruption, so much lack, the people lack anything good. But the politicians are telling you straight up to your face that we've worked so hard to get this country to where it is. We've worked so hard to make sure that you Ugandan people are living good, because he's the minister of finance. Like I said, if you deal with the psychology of these guys, they have to work hand in hand with their criminal masters, and they also have to become criminals. And that's why Matia Kasaija, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development in Uganda, can tell a bold-faced lie on national TV to Ugandans that we have worked so hard to get this country to a good position that it is. That's just how it works. If you check out Matia's bank accounts, I bet you he's a billionaire. I bet you he has no clue what is going on in Uganda. I bet you he's one of those individuals with the SUVs that I talked about recently that drive around on these horrible roads, thereby thinking in their minds that they've escaped the dilapidated roads because they can steal money from the public funds and purchase expensive SUVs, and they wouldn't feel the bumps while driving on the roads. That is their own idea of escaping the pain and suffering in the country, while majority of the country's people have to continue dealing with the mess. Look at him, looking happy, a close associate of Museveni with the I can't even call these guys soldiers. I would just call them rebels, okay? Because that's what they are. To me, I'm sorry, I can't give you any respect. If you're a soldier working for a criminal like Museveni, you get no respect from me. You are considered a rebel on the African Wahala, and that's exactly what you guys are. So we have Kasaija, Museveni, a bunch of rebels thinking they are doing something gallant, but they are not. They are just a bunch of criminals, and that's all that is. So yeah, why can't the people rise up against their oppressors? Why are the people so afraid of their oppressors? It's a psychological thing that we can overcome, actually. We really can, but man, it takes courage, it takes education. It takes us educating the people, having them realize that there is power in their numbers. It's very, very difficult situation we find ourselves in because the people would rather stand up and be subservient than to stand up against the oppressors that have made their lives hell. It's just human psychology. I understand why that happens. I mean, a lot of us, we tried fighting a couple of times. We got scared because we were shot at by AK-47 wielding police officers and soldiers, and the pain and suffering continued. Only problem is the pain and suffering seems to only get bigger and bigger as time goes by, and we are left with no choice but to go face this situation head on. We wouldn't have a choice at some point. The way the human society is designed is similar to how a rubber band is designed. There is an elastic limit. If we keep on stretching the rubber band or a balloon, let's compare the human society with a balloon. If we allow the impunity to keep on spreading and spreading, and if these guys become very, very comfortable with the impunity like they are, if these guys get to a position where they actually have no worries about the consequences and repercussions, which I believe they are there already, guys like Museveni, guys like Tinubu, the guys in control of Nigeria, once they get to that position and the balloon pops, once the balloon pops, it's a wrap. The people will not have a choice but to do something about it, because at that point, there will be complete societal breakdown. There wouldn't be law and order. So it's important we keep on reminding ourselves that we are the only ones that will rescue ourselves from this mess. And the people standing and being afraid of these criminals in power, we have more power than the criminals. If we can maybe come together in a unified voice and fight for the same thing, we are going to achieve if that happens. But thank you for joining me on the African Wahala. It's been 31 minutes. That's a good time. Yeah, very, very good time. Wanted to come here quickly, express some Africanness, the reasons why we are where we are as a people. Do not forget to click on that like button, subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content. Salute to everybody on Facebook, YouTube,